Welcome, historians of the wild and connoisseurs of incredible stories. Today, we're not just chronicling an event. We're witnessing a pivotal chapter in the history of a great land, a story of life and death, of unprecedented loss and miraculous resurrection. This is the chronicle of Nala, a single lioness whose struggle for survival would rewrite the future of an entire lineage. From a difficult birth that challenged the very limits of nature, to a rescue mission that defied all odds, and a reunion so heartwarming it brought hardened rangers to tears. This is a story of hope that echoes across the African savanna. Before we dive into this extraordinary account, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments below, from which city and country are you watching this? Your voice helps us connect the past with the present, and by sharing your location, you become a part of our global community dedicated to preserving these untold stories. By liking this video and subscribing to Wild Echo Untold, you're not just supporting our channel, you're ensuring that these crucial moments in our shared history are never forgotten. Join us on this journey. Our story begins in the vast, sprawling landscapes of the Shlu Impi Losi Conservancy in South Africa, a place of immense beauty and a history marked by both triumph and tragedy. For generations, this land was a sanctuary for a powerful pride of lions, their roars a testament to the thriving ecosystem. But as is often the case with history, external forces intervened, threatening to erase this legacy forever. In recent years, a perfect storm of relentless poaching and devastating disease swept through the region, mercilessly culling the population. One by one, the pride dwindled, its members falling to snares, poisons, and sickness, until a haunting silence descended upon the plains. The last roar belonged to a young female, a lioness named Nala. Nala was not merely an animal. She was the living, breathing embodiment of a forgotten history. Her every movement carried the weight of her lost pride. She was an anomaly, a lone lioness, a rarity in a species where survival is intrinsically linked to the social structure of the pride. Her existence was a delicate balance of resilience and vulnerability. She was a silent queen in an empty kingdom. The fate of the entire conservancy now rested on her shoulders, a burden far too heavy for any single creature to bear. It was a race against time, a desperate hope that she would find a way to not just survive, but to repopulate the land that had belonged to her ancestors. The Conservancy's rangers, a dedicated team of guardians, watched over her with bated breath. Among them was Joseph, a senior ranger whose weathered face held the memory of the pride's former glory. For him and his team, Nala was more than just a lion. She was a symbol of hope, a fragile seed from which a new forest could grow. To ensure her survival and to track any potential mates, the Rangers had equipped Nala with a GPS collar, a network of hidden surveillance cameras meticulously placed throughout her territory, provided them with a constant stream of invaluable data. This remote monitoring was not just for her safety. It was an intimate look into her life, a living historical document unfolding in real time. Then one morning, a routine data check revealed the first electrifying sign of a new beginning. Nala was pregnant. The news sent a wave of mixed emotions through the team. There was unbridled excitement at the prospect of a new chapter for the Conservancy. But this was tempered by an overwhelming sense of dread. A lone lioness, without the support of a pride, is at a severe disadvantage when raising cubs. There would be no other females to help with hunting, no other adults to protect her young from rival predators. The immense challenge of motherhood in isolation loomed large. As the weeks turned into months, Joseph and his conservation team became more than just observers. They were surrogate guardians, meticulously charting every detail of her pregnancy. They developed a long-term remote monitoring plan, a historical record in the making. After the first 4 months, Nala's behavior began to change. The once agile and solitary hunter became sluggish. Surveillance cameras captured her lying still in the thick grass for extended periods, a stark contrast to her usual active self. What truly concerned Joseph, however, was the visual evidence. Her belly was unusually large, far bigger than what would be expected for a single cub pregnancy. He had a hunch, a gut feeling born from years of experience in the wild, that something was profoundly different. This was no ordinary pregnancy. He suspected it was a multiple pregnancy, a rare and risky event for a lioness, especially one without support. The stakes were impossibly high. Nala, in her final weeks, frequently dug holes, changing her sleeping position as if searching for the perfect, most secure place to. The silent anticipation of the rangers, the overwhelming physiological struggle of Nala, and the historical weight of her situation created a suffocating tension. The stage was set for a birth that would not be an ordinary celebration, but a life-or-death battle. In the unfolding chronicle of Nala's struggle, a historical benchmark was reached, not with a joyous roar, but with a sudden, unnerving silence. For over 18 hours, the GPS collar, the very lifeline connecting her to her human guardians, sent back a single, motionless signal. For Joseph and his team, this stillness was not a sign of rest. It was an alarm bell, a clear indication that the perilous moment of birth had arrived. With the silence came an urgent, unspoken question. Was she surviving this monumental task alone? The Rangers immediately launched a low-flying drone, a technological eye in the sky, to penetrate the dense grasslands where Nala had retreated. What the drone's camera captured was a scene of visceral struggle. Nala was no longer the proud, solitary queen. She was a mother fighting for her life. The footage showed her gasping for breath in the deepening shadows of dusk, her body convulsing, her paws frantically scratching the earth as if trying to claw her way through an unbearable pain. Her soft, guttural growls were not of aggression, but of profound agony. The sky itself seemed to mirror her torment. A light rain began to fall, and the distant primeval rumble of thunder echoed across the African bush, punctuated by flashes of lightning. Racing against the coming darkness and the intensifying storm, Joseph and Dr. Zandi, a brilliant and compassionate veterinarian, sped to the scene. Their vehicle's headlights cut through the gloom, finally illuminating a sight that would be forever seared into their memories. Nala was lying on her side, her powerful body shaking uncontrollably. Her belly, a testament to the life she carried, was covered in blood. 3 tiny, newborn lion cubs lay nearby, their small bodies shivering in the cold rain. But as Joseph and Zandi moved closer, they saw the tragic truth. Nala was too weak. Blood continued to flow, and the birth was far from over. Zandi's quick, practiced assessment confirmed their worst fears. The uterine contractions had ceased, and a 4th fetus was still trapped inside. Nala was utterly exhausted, her strength completely spent from the incredible effort. This was an unprecedented moment in the Conservancy's history. They could not simply stand by and let nature take its course, as that course would almost certainly lead to tragedy for both mother and cubs. In a matter of minutes, Zandi had withdrawn a powerful uterine stimulant and was radioing the center, requesting approval for an emergency intervention. The 3 tense minutes that followed felt like an eternity, but the approval came through. The future of the Conservancy's lion population now rested on a single risky decision. Approaching the immense lioness, Zandi spoke to her softly, her voice a calm anchor in the chaos of the storm and Nala's suffering. She gently injected the drug into Nala's hindquarters, reassuring her that they were there to help. Nala responded with a low, weak growl, not of anger, but of understanding. She knew. She trusted. Approximately 20 minutes later, amid the full-body convulsions of the mother, the 4th lion cub was born. The team's relief was palpable, but it was to be short-lived. A 5th cub, smaller and weaker than the others, soon followed. Then, as Zandi was still processing the improbability of 5 cubs, a 6th emerged. Zandi gasped, her eyes wide with shock and tears. A birth of 6 cubs was an unheard-of event, a statistical anomaly and a historical record for the Conservancy. But the joy of this miracle was immediately overshadowed by a grim reality. Nala, having lost an immense amount of blood, had finally succumbed to exhaustion. Her head dropped, and the proud roar that once defined her was gone. One of the 6. Tiny cubs lay motionless, its small belly flat, its breath gone. From this moment on, the battle to save both mother and cub had just begun. The birth of 6 cubs was a miracle, a record-breaking event etched into the history of the Conservancy. But in that moment, it felt less like a triumph and more like a tragedy. Nala lay unconscious, her life force draining with every drop of blood. One of her cubs, a tiny, fragile creation of fate, lay motionless on the wet ground. The clock was ticking, and in this primal scene, history was being written not by observers, but by 2 people refusing to accept defeat. The battle to save a generation had begun, and its outcome was far from certain. Xandi, her scientific training honed over years, immediately abandoned her role as a passive observer. She knelt beside the motionless cub, her hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. Continuous, gentle massage techniques were all she had. A tiny, fragile heart that had already begun to fade was now in her hands. Joseph, his face grim with determination, worked on Nala. He used a clean towel to staunch the flow of blood and tenderly wipe her body, a gesture that was both practical and deeply compassionate. At the same time, he set up an IV drip, administering a large bag of fluids to combat her severe blood loss. The scene was a chaotic ballet of life and death, an intense dance between the cold, unyielding forces of nature and the indomitable will of humanity to intervene. Time stretched and bent. A minute passed like a century. Every second was an eternity of hope and despair. Then, a miracle. The little lion cub stirred. A tiny, almost imperceptible gasp of air escaped its lungs. The team collectively held their breath, then exhaled in a quiet, unified sigh of relief. A life had been pulled back from the brink. The battle was not won, but the first major victory had been secured. Yet, as the tiny cub began to breathe, Xandi's attention was already turning to the next crisis. Nala was still unconscious. She quickly injected a resuscitation dose, checked the lioness's weak heart rate, and placed a warm towel around her belly to retain heat. The danger was far from over. As the team began to assess the remaining cubs, a new problem became tragically clear. While 4 of them showed signs of life and began to crawl, 2 of the 6 displayed obvious signs of profound weakness. They were unable to crawl to their mother's breast to feed, their small bodies shivering and listless. The cubs, though miraculous in their number, were still a long way from safety. Xandi, faced with an impossible choice, knew what had to be done. To give these 2 the best chance of survival, they needed specialized, around-the-clock care that could not be provided on the wild savanna. They needed an emergency intensive care center. The decision was heartbreaking but necessary. Joseph, with a heavy heart, carefully wrapped the 2 weakest cubs in his coat, their tiny bodies barely a handful of life. He placed them in a specially prepared cage equipped with a thermal pad, a small technological sanctuary against the brutal elements of the wild. Xandi double-checked their vitals, administering a quick-acting vitamin supplement to give them a fighting chance for the journey. The remaining 4 cubs, though still in a precarious state, were placed near their mother's body. Joseph and Xandi hoped the subtle warmth and scent of their siblings would provide some comfort. As the first hints of dawn began to paint the African sky, the rain finally stopped. The first rays of sunlight shone on the grass, where Nala lay, her body gradually warm. The sounds of the jungle were returning to life, but for the team, the mission was not over. An emergency helicopter was already on its way to transport the 2 weakest cubs to a rescue station 30 kilometers away. The first birth of 6 cubs in the history of the reserve had overcome its initial life-threatening crisis. but was now embarking on a new, equally perilous journey of separation and hope. The immediate crisis of birth and intervention had passed, but the story of Nala and her cubs was far from over. It entered a new phase, a historical period of fragile recovery and agonizing separation. Back in the conservancy, Nala lay in the morning sun, her body gradually regaining its strength. The surveillance cameras, our silent historians, captured a scene of profound maternal instinct. On the third day, she managed to stand on her own, a monumental effort for her weakened body. But her actions after were what truly moved the rangers. She began to walk slowly around the area, pausing frequently to emit a low, persistent call. She was not just calling out. She was searching. She was calling for her missing cubs, the two who had not returned from the night of the storm. Joseph, poring over the footage, felt a deep sense of sadness mixed with awe. He understood. He knew that in the complex, intuitive world of a lion's mind, Nala had not just given birth to 4 cubs. She had counted 6. Her memory, her maternal bond, had meticulously recorded every single one. Her calls were not a generic expression of loneliness, but a specific, heartbreaking cry for her complete family. Her behavior was a living testament to the depth of a lion's emotional and cognitive abilities, a historical footnote in the annals of animal behavior. Meanwhile, 30 kilometers away at the rescue station, the 2 weakest cubs, now named Lumo and Sana, were fighting their own silent battle for survival. They were a testament to the fragility of life and the team's dedication to its preservation. Zandy and the rescue staff worked tirelessly, providing replacement milk and hourly care, meticulously recording every detail of their health. Their lives were a series of small, heroic victories. Zandy, always the scientist, had a cautious optimism. "If they can make it through the first 7 days without falling ill," she stated, her words a historical record of hope, "their chances of survival are high." The days crept by. On the 6th day, a milestone was reached. Both Lumo and Sana began to open their eyes, their small bodies stretching in response to sounds, their senses connecting them to the world for the very first time. They were now strong, enough to endure the journey home. Joseph, reviewing the data and the footage of Nala's persistent calls, knew in his heart that the time for the reunion had arrived. The greatest risk was that Nala would reject the cubs, their scent altered by the human hands that had saved them. To prevent this, the team performed a crucial step. They wrapped the cubs in Nala's old towels from the conservancy, imbuing their small bodies with her familiar scent. It was a desperate, clever act of historical reenactment, trying to bridge the gap between their temporary separation and their rightful home. That evening, as the sun began to set, Joseph and the team made the slow drive back to the grassy area, where Nala was. The atmosphere in the vehicle was a tense mix of apprehension and hope. When they finally laid the 2 cubs near Nala, the moment of truth arrived. Nala, spotting the 2 small forms, rose cautiously. She moved closer, her powerful body tensed, ready to either accept or reject. Joseph and the team held their... She sniffed them carefully, her nose a sophisticated biological instrument, searching for the scent of her own. Her tense body relaxed. She then began to gently lick each one's forehead. There was no growl, no sign of aggression. It was a wonderful sign, a perfect historical moment of acceptance. The group of rangers, hardened by years in the wild, stood in silence, awe, tears streaming down their faces. They had witnessed a moment so pure, so magical, that it defied all rational explanation. The story of Nala, a lioness who had remembered and waited, had finally reached its beautiful and poignant climax. A family was complete. A new chapter had been written, and they had been there to witness it all. The reunion of Nala and her cubs was a moment of profound significance for those who witnessed it. But in the age of instant global connection, its impact would not be contained within the borders of the conservancy. A video of the reunion that, magical, silent moment of acceptance was shared on social media and quickly went viral. Within hours, it became a global sensation, a living testament to the unbreakable bond between a mother and her offspring. The story of Nala giving birth to 6 cubs, the first sextuplets ever recorded in the reserve's history, was picked up by international conservation organizations who used her story as a rallying cry for wildlife protection. In a remarkable turn of events, the quiet, tireless work of Joseph, Zandy, and their team was finally brought into the global spotlight. Many support funds, inspired by Nala's struggle, offered to protect the new pride. The Conservancy, once a place of silent loss, was now a beacon of hope. A German documentary team arrived, eager to chronicle the miraculous birth and interview. Joseph and Zandy, forever cementing their story in the annals of conservation history. The Rangers, filled with renewed purpose, expanded the protection area around Nala and her cubs, ensuring their safety and allowing them the space to thrive. As the years passed, a new era dawned in the Shlu-Shlue Impilosi Conservancy. The 6 cubs grew up healthy, their existence a powerful counter-narrative to the years of decline. With the same natural instincts as their ancestors, they gradually began to separate from the pride to learn to hunt, their powerful bodies a symbol of resilience. In a beautiful twist of fate, Lumo and Sana, once the weakest and most fragile of the litter, became the most fully developed and strongest of the group, a living tribute to the dedication and care they received. The story of Nala was more than just an event. It was a revolution in thought. Scientists, humbled by her extraordinary maternal memory and the record-breaking birth, confirmed that this was one of the rarest cases of a lion birth ever recorded. The entire pride, a living historical document, was equipped with biolocating devices to monitor their health and natural behavior, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. Late one afternoon, Joseph stood on a quiet hill overlooking the vast plains. The setting sun cast a brilliant golden light across the land, a light that seemed to perfectly match Nala's flowing mane. He watched her, a proud mother, lying peacefully among her 6 healthy cubs. She was no longer just a lonely lioness. She was the matriarch of a new beginning. The cornerstone of a legacy he had once feared was lost forever. Zandy came and stood beside him, her expression a mix of awe and deep satisfaction. "We saved a generation," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. Joseph smiled, his eyes shining not with pride, but with an unwavering faith in the power of perseverance. The gentle wind blew through the grasslands, carrying the young roars of the new pride, echoing under the brilliant sunset. A miracle had been born, not just in the heart of Africa, but in the heart of a single lioness. Dear friend, the story of Nala is a testament to the fact that even in the face of overwhelming loss, life finds a way to endure and even flourish. It's a powerful reminder that our actions, no matter how small, can have a monumental impact on the world around us. This is the kind of story we are dedicated to sharing with you. If you were moved by this incredible account of a mother's love and the birth of a new pride, please subscribe to our channel Wild Echo Untold so you don't miss another chapter in the living history of our planet. What did you think of today's story? Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. We would love to hear from you.